today we're going to learn about bottle feeding kittens. So when you arrive at the nursery, you're going to choose either quarantine A or quarantine B. Today we're in quarantine B, and we're going to feed the next litter of kittens that is due to eat. So it's going to be litter 2696, and as we can see on the board, they are a transitional kitten, which means they're on the bottle and also wet food. So you're going to learn a little bit about both. So this is the feeding folder you're going to review before you start. So I'm going to look inside. I'm going to look at the communication form, the weight chart, and also what they ate previously today. So I can see, based off of this, NI means not interested, and anything that's in mils is them drinking the milk from the bottle. The formula we use is Fox Valley. So I can see that only one of them is having any wet food, and that's Lanson, and is having bites. So it's not really a quantifiable amount yet, but just getting those taster bites. So I can see from the previous feedings, together, when I add up what they ate, I'm going to need to fill the bottle about 30 to 35 mils full. So that's how we gauge how much milk to put in the bottle, and then so we don't waste it, we don't want to overfill it. So I'm just totaling up from this entire litter and then kind of averaging it over the last two feedings. And then if I look back at the weight chart, I can see that the kitten at the end here lost a little bit of weight, but everybody else gained weight. And then Lanson needed a warm compress to his eye, so I'll keep that in mind while I'm feeding him. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare my milk. So I'm going to open the fridge, which is clean, so I can touch it with my bare hands. And we said litter 2696. So when we look in the fridge, we want to make sure that we get the right bottle for that group of kittens. So, as you can see, 2696. We want to make sure everything matches. It's really easy to misread the last number of the bottle and grab another litter. So always make sure it's the right bottle. Not only for disease control, but also the milk flow from each nipple is going to be different. So let's see if I can find one. Some kittens that have been here a little longer, the nipple will be more stretched out, so that's going to have a stronger milk flow than kittens that have been here less time, and the nipple will have a lighter milk flow. So we don't want their mouths getting flooded with milk when they're expecting one thing and get another. So there's multiple reasons why using the right bottle is a good thing. So these bottles are clean. I can touch them without my gloves, and as is the milk in here. So 2696, double check it again. And then we decided we would need about 35 mils in the bottle. So I'm going to take the nipple off. I'm going to avoid putting it down on a lot of surfaces. So I usually just hold it right between my hands like this. And then I grab my formula, check the date and time. It's only good for 24 hours once it's made, so I want to make sure that it's still good, which this one is. Give it a little bit of a shake. Open up the top. And then we always have trash cans right below the refrigerator because we don't touch the top of the shaker bottle to this bottle for disease control. So it's really hard to pour it without spilling it. So I'm probably going to spill a little bit. So there's about 35 mils in there. Only a tiny bit spilled. We keep Kleenex on top of the fridge. So if you do spill, you can just grab one and wipe it down and then throw it in the trash right there. So my bottle's all prepared. It needs to warm up before I get my kittens out. So I'm going to put it in the warmer on the table. So we have these mini crock pots, and it keeps the water at a really good temperature. So when we put the milk in there, it warms it up perfectly. So by the time I put this in and get everything else ready, it should be a really good temperature to feed them. On my table, I have a heating pad. I have the gloves that I need. I'm going to grab a box of Kleenex. I'm gonna grab a pillowcase, which goes over the top of the heating pad. And I'm also gonna make sure I have some baby wipes on standby. And since these guys are eating wet food, I'm also gonna prepare my wet food. So I've got my station set up. My bottle's in the warmer, pillowcase is here, my gloves and my Kleenex. I also have one food boat. Because these guys aren't really eating wet food, I'm not gonna prepare 4 food boats and waste food. I'm just gonna give them a little bit in one food boat. So every time we open a can of food at the nursery, we cut the food into 4 pieces like this. So there's a little cross in the top of the food. So the entire can is 12 teaspoons and each little segment is 3 teaspoons. Since these guys aren't eating full teaspoons yet, I'm gonna cut it even smaller and just do 1.5 teaspoons so I don't waste it. And put it in the food boat. Now this is clean and so is this, and it's gonna stay right in the middle of the table in the clean area, and I'm gonna use a different tongue depressor for feeding the kittens. And if I need more food, I'm gonna use the clean tongue depressor and not put my dirty tongue depressor in. Because if I do that, this food is contaminated and then we have to just use it for that litter of kittens and we can't use it for everyone else. So everything is ready to go. I'm gonna grab my first kitten. And if you notice, on the front of the kennel is everyone's name, ID numbers, and descriptions. And these guys are also suckers. So their sucker timeout is right above, and you'll see there is a kitten in the back of the sucker timeout. It's important that this kitten goes back here, because if we put this kitten back in with its friends and it nurses on its friends, it can cause damage. So if you're feeding kittens that do have that sucker timeout, we really want to make sure we know who's from where and we put them back in the right spot. So I'm going to start with this one and put it right back up here so I know that I have the right kitten. We also have these bins on top, which I'm going to use to place the kitten in. Notice the number. 2696 also matches the number you saw on the front of the kennel, the folder, and the bottle. So this is a black and white kitten, and there's only one black and white kitten in the litter, and that's Lanson. So this is the one that eats some wet food. So our bottle is nice and warm. I'm going to take it out before it overheats and just place it on the pillowcase because I'm not going to feed it right away. If it was too warm, there's cool water in the middle of the table to place the bottle in if it gets too hot. This is considered dirty and so is the water inside of the crock pot. We would never want to use this water to clean the kitten or to help stimulate the kitten. This water in the mug on the mug warmer is considered clean. So we can use this for cleaning faces and also helping with stimulating and doing warm compresses. So it's always good if a kitten's eating wet food to try to get them to eat that first because we want them to fill up on the wet food before they fill up on the bottle. So I'm going to give him what we call a starter bite. It's just getting a tiny bit of food on the tongue depressor. Just holding their cheeks gently and popping the food in their mouth. And then you slide the food boat right under their face and they've got a taste for it, so they'll hopefully have some bites. And another thing you can do is you can just gently hold it up on the tongue depressor. But the way he's acting, I can tell that he really wants the bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and offer that first and then try again with the wet food after. Before I feed the bottle, I want to make sure it's not too warm. To my touch, it feels, the temperature of the milk feels like the heating pad that's underneath this pillowcase. That's the kind of temperature it should feel like. You can also test it on your wrist and make sure that it's not too hot. I got a Kleenex out because I'm also going to stimulate this kitten to go to the bathroom, but I'll do that afterwards so that the milk doesn't get too cold. So we started out with 35 mils in there. It's important to note how much you have to start with so you know how much they ate. I'm gently pressing the nipple against the pillowcase just so the milk gets inside the nipple and they're not trying to suck on air when it first goes into their mouths. And then I'm going to gently hold their cheeks and slip the bottle in. And sometimes they're fussy when they're over hungry. I'm still holding the cheeks and I'm not squeezing the bottle. And he's not latched quite yet. And now he is. I can feel he's latched because there's a strong vacuum inside the bottle. And you can see he calmed down. He stopped being frantic and trying to climb up my hand. And then once he was calm, I was able to let go. And you can gently pet them and make sure they don't have any lumps and bumps, any hair loss or anything like that. And right away, you can see he drank about 5 mils, which is about the quantity these guys have been drinking, between 5 and 10 mils. So I'm gonna take this time, now that he has some food in his belly, to stimulate him. So this is when we help the kittens go to the bathroom. Mom would do this by licking them, but we just use a Kleenex. We gently hold the tail up and just massage the area. And as you can see, this kitten is peeing. So we're going to keep doing this until the kitten doesn't have any more urine coming out, because we want to make sure they empty their bladders. And if the kitten is going to poop, you will see their little butthole kind of pucker, like if you were taking your dog for a walk and you could tell that they were going to poop. But this kitten didn't look like it was going to poop. So this just goes in the trash, which is underneath your table. And I'm going to try the bottle one more time. So we've had 5 mils so far. Didn't want to latch. So usually I try about 3 or 4 times. So that time they were just playing with the nipple, wasn't really drinking. So now is a good time to try the wet food one more time. Kind of trying to have a couple of bites. Doesn't quite understand what's happening yet. So not very interested in that wet food. So I'm going to try the bottle one more time, and if the kitten doesn't want it again, I'm going to clean the kitten up and put it back to bed. I'm gently rubbing the cheeks, because sometimes that can stimulate them to eat a little more. This kitten is just chewing on it. So we've still had about 5 mils, which is a good quantity for this kitten. As you can see, there's some milk on the face. So we don't want to put the kitten back with that on the face because it can crust and cause hair loss. So I'm going to grab a Kleenex and I'm going to dip the clean end that I haven't touched with my dirty glove in the clean water and bring it back to my station. And then it's a little bit warm, but it's not too hot. We're just going to use that to gently wipe the face down. And you can wipe the face, the paws, whichever area has food or anything else on there. We want the kitten to have clean fur when it goes back to bed. You can see quite a lot came off of that kitten. And then before we go back to bed, we'll stimulate one more time. Make sure there's nothing else. A little bit more urine. So we're all done with this kitten. And as I'm putting the kitten back to bed, I want to make sure that the blankets are clean. There's no urine or feces in there. This kitten is nice and clean. There's no dampness, no smell of urine. So the kitten's going back into its cubby. I'm taking out any food that's been left in there, and then I'm checking the main area to make sure it's clean. And this kitten was very clean, so I'm lucky I don't have to do much cleaning for this kitten. And then they go back to bed, and then you make sure you hit fill up and lock them in. So I'm going to make sure I note down how much this kitten ate. So he had 5 meals. So I write black and white, 5 meals, and then light yellow urine, and then wasn't interested in the food this time, so NI. So some people record on scrap paper, some people record on their gloves. I choose to record on my gloves. And then I'll write on here for each kitten in the litter, and then when I'm done, I will record it in the folder with a clean pen and not the dirty pen that I've used at the table.